Hey everyone, it's Jamie from Independent Street Tarot and Seasons and Ritual, and I'm here with my friend Helen, the Crimson Cadaverous.
Hi.
And we're on the street.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can hear us pretty well. If not, it's okay. The energy will be felt no matter what.
Exactly.
Okay, so we are in our final week of, not even a week, but we're in the final degrees of of Scorpio season.
Yes.
Before we move into Sagittarius.
So if you're feeling that intensity,
good for you. Yeah, good for you. And it's always important to remember when the sun starts hitting these final degrees of any sign, it's in the degrees of mastery.
Yes.
So really pay attention for what's coming up for yourself, because it's going to give you this new energy or answer these questions that you may have that are bothering you. But it's going to be because Scorpio is feelings, right?
Mhm.
Scorpio is rebirth, transmutation, transformation.
The depths.
Yeah. Put a pin in it. Like,
Mhm.
write it down. Okay.
I always think of Scorpio water as being like that deep, murky water that you can't see to the bottom of.
Yeah,
It's almost like you need to go to the bottom. You need to dive down. You can't
And-
just look down.
I did a meditation with Scorpio.
Oh, I did that
Okay.
meditation. It was great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It was a little rough around the edges.
I thought it was great.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
I
take
meant
it.
to tell you that actually.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna take it.
I'm glad you said that because I meant to tell you. I
Okay,
really
thank
did.
you. I appreciate that. I'm gonna take the compliment. You
Oh,
know what
yeah.
I mean? We're
Oh,
always
yeah.
like, oh, okay, yes. Okay, so let's talk about this week. We are recording this on the 19th, just so you guys know, on
Yes.
Sunday. But Monday, the 20th, the moon is still going to be in Aquarius.
Yes.
First quarter's moon.
Yes. Before the moon moves out of Aquarius into Pisces, we
Mhm.
have the first quarter moon.
Yep.
Which of course is the square between the moon and the sun,
Right.
which happens twice each lunar cycle.
Mhm.
When the moon is waxing, we've got the first quarter,
Yeah.
we're building things, we're taking action towards things we're building.
Right.
And then when we have the last quarter moon, it's like we're taking action towards releasing. Yes.
Okay.
So we're in the building phase. So it's like all those intentions we wrote down and said, this is what we're going to do. We're like, all right, we got to
Which
do
you
it
will
now.
know if you are taking my moon motivation class. I feel I'm getting better at this.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else is happening on Monday?
Well, the sun's got a lot going on
Yes,
this week.
the sun does have a lot going on this
Yes.
week.
And especially on Monday, we've
Mhm.
got a sextile with Pluto
Okay.
and we've got a conjunction with Ceres.
So the sun, when you say sextile with Pluto, right? So you
Yes.
guys know Pluto's in Capricorn.
Mhm.
Does that mean the sun is sextiling with the moon?
With Pluto.
Okay, so but the moon's not involved.
No, the
Okay,
moon's not involved
just
in this
making sure.
particular. Yes.
Okay.
It's just the sun and Pluto. So the
Mhm.
sun is 60 degrees away from Pluto.
Pluto.
So two signs.
Okay. Going over the bases.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And that's a sextile is good energy.
Yes, it's very harmonious energy. It's easy flowing.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, two old friends hanging out and getting along.
Yeah.
And, getting things done.
Okay, and this is interesting because Pluto rules Scorpio. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the sun is in
Scorpio.
Yes.
But Pluto is in Capricorn.
Right.
Okay.
So I think what we're doing with energy like that,
Mhm.
it is obviously very harmonious energy,
Right.
but because we've got all this like Pluto Scorpio energy involved,
Mm-hmm.
it's not breezy energy.
Right.
There is still some heaviness to it. There's
Mhm.
still some heavy lifting. There's still some depths that we need to,
Move through.
plunge through, so to
Mhm.
speak. But because it is a harmonious energy, it's almost like saying, like, if you're willing to take that plunge, you're going to get all the way into the depths and you're really going to dig into something that you can do something with.
And I agree with that, because I was thinking, because I always think of Capricorn sign of work, where we're working at, or this how we work, right? And so with this, it's like if we made that decision, I'm going to be working differently on whatever in your life, or it could be literal work at your job or
Yes.
whatever. Like you said, if you've made that commitment, it's going to move through a lot quicker.
Yes. And I think interesting thing that I think kind of actually goes hand in hand with this is the sun's conjunction with Ceres.
Yes.
Because Ceres rules like how we nurture ourselves,
Mhm.
how we nourish ourselves. So like grain is ruled cereal. The word cereal comes from
Yes.
Ceres.
Uh-huh.
So how we nourish ourselves, and then we think about the sun as like our authentic true self.
Mhm.
So it's almost like saying, what is the most authentic way to take care of ourselves?
Right.
Not, the self-care tactics that somebody
Right.
tells you got to take a bath or
Yeah,
whatever.
exfoliate.
If you want to take a bath, obviously do that. But what is
Thank you.
really self-care to you?
Right.
And I think because Pluto's there,
Mhm.
he's going to help us get to the truth.
I like that, especially
know,
where he is now.
Right. And he might bring up some things where he's like, this may seem like self-care to you,
But it's a waste of time.
right?
Mhm.
And so there may be some things where we cut the cords on like certain like self-care routines that we think have been helping us
Yeah.
that maybe actually I don't want to say we're to our detriment,
Right.
but we're helping.
Yeah. Because again, Scorpio's feelings,
Yes.
right? It's fixed feelings. It's ourself. So we really got to get to the heart of ourself.
Yes.
Yep. And how to nourish that.
Right.
Okay. That feels good.
Fill
So
up our cup. That's
fill up our cup,
It's very
yeah.
fill up your cup energy.
Yeah. So that's a good way to start out the week.
Yes.
Tuesday,
Yes.
the moon's going to move into Pisces. Well, the moon is moving into Pisces at the end of
At the end
Monday.
of the day.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then Tuesday, the moon will be in Pisces.
Yes. And then again, the big story is not so much with the moon that day.
Unless you're taking my class.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the big story is always the moon, because the moon is,
Thanks,
you know,
pal. Yeah.
it's always a part of our
Yeah.
lives. But to me, the big story on that day is Pluto.
Okay.
Because Pluto is forming a sextile with both Ceres and Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So Ceres, Mars, and the Sun are
Mhm.
all very close to each other in Scorpio right now.
Right.
All about to like kind of move over into Sagittarius.
Right.
Within a few days of each other. And so they're in those final degrees. So Pluto's been in the final degrees.
I
So
know.
anytime something gets to that, we're hitting
Yeah.
Pluto.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting because when we're in the final degrees, we're pushing hard, we're mastering.
Right.
And then we got Pluto, which is always pushing us. So
Yeah,
it's
a
like,
little bit
all right,
harder.
we're
Yeah.
pushing right now.
Mhm.
But again, sextile energy. So, you know, it's going to be easy flowing.
Take courage with
right.
Mars.
And yeah, so with Mars and Ceres, so like obviously Mars is going to be our power planet,
Mhm.
how we assert ourselves, how we get what we want.
Mhm.
Ceres is nurturance. So
Right.
it's almost like reminding us, honestly, like kind of transforming our idea of how we can actually take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Like almost empowering us
Right.
to take care of ourselves.
And because Capricorn is an earth sign, you guys, it's a cardinal earth. So might be like a new idea, or like, oh, it's gonna be something maybe you're just initiating now. Like if you have that
Yes.
aha moment. But also because it's Scorpio and that's fixed water, having that earth there is gonna be very grounding. Let me tell you what's hot right now. Are we in the Marini? Yeah.
No, we're in
We're
Bywater.
in Bywater.
Yeah.
Motorcycles.
Yeah.
They're hot right now.
They're never
They're never not.
quiet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Is there anything else you want to say about Mars and Scorpio sextile Pluto and Ceres and Scorpio sextile Pluto?
Covered it. I think it's just again the power to like transform what it means to take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
To really actually say like maybe I did it a different way before.
Yeah.
Maybe I followed all the rules.
Right.
But like now I gotta follow my own rules.
Right. And following your own rules that make you feel better.
Right.
Scorpio was feeling.
Right.
And it's really important to remember this, and I'm going to try to keep it short, but like going into winter, we have to get rid of everything that we cannot sustain on in winter.
Yes.
Right? Like we're going into quote unquote lean times. But it's
Yes.
also important to remember that this is when Persephone and Hades are together,
Mhm.
Vulcan are together, and they're in love and they're
Yeah.
happy. Okay, so keep both of those in mind as we keep getting towards this end of Scorpio season.
Yeah. Very
Okay.
important. And speaking of the end of Scorpio season.
Yes. Wednesday.
Yes.
Moon's still in Pisces, right?
Yes.
So you guys be intuitive, right? Moon in Pisces. See what's Pisces is mutable, so it's going to help get things going, but it's Neptune, right?
Yes.
So it is those dreams.
Yeah.
It is
The intangibilities.
yeah.
Yes.
And on that day,
The sun enters Sagittarius.
right?
which, Yay.
Yay.
I'm excited about Sagittarius.
Yay.
But I think it's always really interesting that Scorpio season or that Sagittarius season follows Scorpio season.
Yeah.
And I always say that that's because the last archetype of Scorpio is the rising Phoenix.
The Phoenix, yep.
And that's fire. So it's
Yeah.
like you have to throw yourselves on the, the fire to be reborn.
Right.
And so it's almost like, to me, that's like kind of the, explosion that happens once
Yeah.
we actually get into Sagittarius season.
Yeah.
But it's also interesting because I feel like Scorpio season is just so heavy and
Right.
mysterious. So that Sagittarius season is like, ooh, let's party.
Yeah, hey, what's up?
Right.
Glad you could make it.
We got a whole party going
I know.
on
What's
here.
the big 9 second line today? Which
Oh,
one's actually going in the opposite direction? So maybe it's over.
yeah.
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
I used to walk in that when I lived down there.
But the interesting thing about Sagittarius season
Yes.
is, so it's the very, 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 very tail end of fall.
Mm-hmm.
And, once we get into, winter, it's like Capricorn
Capricorn,
season.
yeah,
Like that's
mhm.
where, but it's like that's our last little push
Mhm.
before we go into that like winter, dormancy period.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like this last little, I don't want to say last hurrah, like we're going to die or
Yeah.
something. Like it's like that last little bit of like,
Because like also to me, like because Sagittarius is mutable fire, right? But it's also the celebration to be happy that
Yes.
you did face what you need to let go of.
yes,
And so you should quote unquote be lighter
right,
going towards the winter.
Absolutely.
And so Sagittarius, like, you did it.
right.
You survived Scorpio season.
And the fire of Sagittarius helps us burn off all those things
Yeah.
that like don't need to come into the cave with us,
Yeah.
to hibernate with.
Yeah.
That are like, no. But yeah, Sagittarius season, I think it's really good to like just kind of go all in on it
Yeah.
because there has been so much heaviness in Scorpio season. There always is.
Yeah.
And it's like it's kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And I think we should definitely, do the best that we can to utilize that and like
Exhale.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're now,
Exhale,
you're
'cause
you're
we,
back
like,
on land.
from eclipse season right into Scorpio season. It's like
And let me tell you that everyone's asking, we were just talking about this before we got on camera, about how interesting the energy is right now. And this is that 11/11 portal was no fucking joke.
oh no,
friends.
it was not.
So it's real. Everything
Yeah.
that you're feeling is real.
Oh yeah, it's real.
Okay, Thursday, the moon will be in Aries, which is great. The sun enters
Yes.
Sagittarius, which is fire. The moon moves into Aries, which is fire.
Mhm.
The sun in Sagittarius is going to square Saturn,
Saturn.
who's in Pisces.
Yes, and I think that's definitely a big deal.
Mhm.
Whenever the sun squares Saturn, because they're two very very powerful planetary bodies.
Yeah,
Saturn represents structure, control.
yeah,
all the
foundations.
all the foundations that are sturdy in our lives.
Mhm.
And the sun represents ourselves.
Right.
The sun represents like how we show up
Self-esteem,
authentically.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And so to have that square there, so a square is a challenge,
Right off the bat.
right?
Yeah.
And to meet the challenge here,
Mhm.
because we've got this brand new Sagittarius sun.
Right.
The challenge here, honestly, is to find ways of structuring or finding ways within the structure
Mhm.
to still enjoy yourself.
Okay, I like it. Especially
Because
if you got a lot going on.
and
Yeah.
authentically enjoy
Mhm.
yourself. Because again, sometimes we do get kind of caught in the structures,
Mhm.
caught in the bureaucracy of life,
Right.
and we're just kind of doing this and like
Mhm.
moving, task.
Mhm.
And Saturn, of course, loves that. He's
Yes.
like, get the task done.
Right.
But the sun comes in to be like, okay, but are you shining brightly? Are you being true?
Right.
Are you being authentic?
this
Are
your
you being
task?
yourself? Yeah.
Should this be your task?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think there's definitely going to be a lot of things that come
Yeah.
up for us
Yeah.
that we're going to realize maybe aren't true to us.
Right. That's not our task anymore.
Not a solid foundation, not
Yeah.
what we want to build upon, not what we want to be a part of.
Which is interesting. It falls on Thursday.
Right. And so again, I think it's just the
Especially
challenge.
this Thursday. You know what's on Thursday?
What is Thursday?
It's,
Oh,
it's a holiday. Okay.
yeah.
So the fact that we're like, maybe this isn't my task anymore.
Yeah, we won't get into
So
holidays, not all
right,
of us
okay.
celebrate.
but just be aware of this.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't mean you have to come in guns blazing.
Right,
But take notice.
right,
Because that moon in Aries is also going to be conjunct Chiron.
right. Conjunct Chiron, opposite Venus.
Right.
Which to me, the conjunct Chiron is, we'll bring up some old wounds.
Sure.
We'll bring up the stuff, but it's for us to do something with.
Right. It's not to say this is who you are.
Right.
Right.
And opposite Venus is like to separate yourself from the things that aren't in your value system.
Right.
Like even if, again, we're just gonna say it, like even if you go home to your family
Yes.
and they've got a one way of doing things,
Yeah.
if you know it's not right, you don't have to go with that.
Nope.
You-
No.
It doesn't matter
And-
that they're your family.
Right. And also the thing is, if you go and you do participate, like not to an extreme, but you're there and you can celebrate and love your family for who they are, right? You can do that too.
Yeah.
You can be you, right? Because conjunct moon and Aries conjunct Chiron. So maybe your family is your wound.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're facing them.
Right.
And you are in Libra.
Right.
Okay. I'm not saying you literally are in Libra, but I'm
Right.
saying
But the
that
Libra energy. yeah.
right, that Libra energy, keeping yourself in balance, seeing what it is that you love about yourself,
Right.
right? How you value yourself, even if the people you're with don't value you for the way you are, but maybe you can just see them differently in a different light.
Yes.
And-
exactly.
And find some value in that.
Right.
And comfort in that.
Yes.
And everyone feels comfort
yes.
and value in their own ways.
Right.
Okay. because
And I think it's really interesting because I'm sitting here looking at the fact that Mars is going to conjunct Sirius.
yeah, that's it.
And I'm like, that, like, to call, like, the, like, way to wrap that all up is like,
Right.
you have the power to take care of yourself.
Right.
You have the power to, practice self-care.
Right.
Like, in
Self-care
those
in a different
moments,
way.
right? In
Right.
those moments where, like, your aunt comes in and she's like nitpicking on
Right.
something, and you can just be like, nope,
Right.
you
Right.
don't. That is how you, practice
She acts like
self-care, is
this
like the boundaries.
because she probably hates herself.
Right.
Right. It's nothing to do with you. It's nothing to do with me. Yeah.
No. And all the energy, the sun, Mars, and Ceres are oh no, excuse me.
Mhm.
Mars and Ceres are still in Scorpio.
Scorpio. Right.
Yes. So
Right.
like that to me is like
Giving you courage to really take care of yourself at
right.
the end, because Mars is at the end of Scorpio.
Right. But it's also to me things rising up to the surface that
Mhm.
maybe we've suppressed.
I like it.
And that might, so like if you feel something kind of rising up,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to come out in the hottest way.
Right,
You can
right.
kind of temper it a little
yeah.
bit. But something might be rising up that, again, with the moon conjunct Chiron,
Yeah.
it's an old wound that needs to be dealt with.
Right. Because too, Mars is more of a divine masculine energy. So before, when he was just throwing mashed potatoes,
Right.
is a little more calm.
Yeah, you don't have to throw mashed potatoes, but
Unless
do
they're
need
going
to
right in the
place-
mouth.
you do need to place proper boundaries with even your family,
Right. And that,
especially your family.
yep. And that sun in Sagittarius squaring Saturn and Pisces, like we said. So if these things are coming up and it's not your story anymore, that story just is, you're like, oh, now I get why I don't feel stable.
Right.
Okay. I can let it
Yeah.
go. You don't
And
have
yeah,
to
I
cuss
think-
out people at your family. You can just get it.
Ultimately, I see this as being gaining our own sovereignty through self-care.
Okay. Yeah, but the new way we're describing self-care.
Yes, the
Okay.
new way, not the, you got to take a bubble bath,
Exfoliate,
and
yeah.
say I did my Sunday self-care
Yeah.
task.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So Friday, the moon is in Aries.
Yes.
But can I go ahead and say this?
Oh,
yeah. Okay. And the great thing then is then Mars enters Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got all these revelations yesterday at the holiday you were or were not celebrating with your family, guess what? Mars is Sagittarius. Everyone's happy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And also Ceres enters Sagittarius.
Yes.
So like all these planets, like the sun, Mars, and Ceres that were all in Scorpio. doing this, like,
Learning
deep
yeah.
work,
transformation.
digging,
yeah.
all these like getting into the mysterious depths of
Yeah.
our psyche.
The mysteries.
Now we're in Sagittarius.
Yeah.
Now we can, have a lot lighter
Mhm.
energy and approach these areas of our lives
Mhm.
from a more jovial perspective.
Yeah.
Because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter, so of course, very jovial.
Yeah.
And like Mars and Sagittarius is great because like
Mhm.
he always likes being in fire signs. His home sign obviously is Aries, but
Mhm.
like Sagittarius is great too,
right. Adventure.
Right. And it's
Mhm.
like, to me, that's like almost like the warrior that goes on an adventure.
Right.
So like I think of an Odysseus.
Okay.
Odysseus is like a perfect example of like
The
Mars
Odyssey?
and
Is that the
Sagittarius.
Odyssey?
Yes.
Okay.
So he was the one
That
who,
lasted for.
oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
He was for like 20 years or something like that.
Okay.
Now listen,
Okay.
I'm gonna totally aside that has nothing to do with
Okay.
astrology.
Go for it.
I am nerdy enough to have taken Latin in high
Mhm.
school. Like I'm that nerd.
We didn't have it, but we did.
And-
we studied mythology and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And my senior project was to translate the Odyssey out of and back into Latin.
Damn, girl.
I know a little bit about the Odyssey.
Okay.
But yeah, so like 20 years or whatever. But the whole thing was, he was involved in the Trojan War and all
Yeah.
that. But that all went away,
Mhm.
that ended. And then he went on this like 20-year journey to get back home.
Mhm.
He had to basically go through all these different like battles of his own, of like going through like Scylla and Charybdis and like going to like the island of the Lotus Eaters, like
Yeah.
all these different like trials and tribulations that he had to go through.
Mhm.
And he stayed true to himself the whole time.
Right.
Like even when they were going through the place where they had the sirens.
I was gonna say with the mermaids screaming, yeah, and he had to put stuff in his ears and
Right. And like
blindfold
because he's
himself.
like, I want to know what it is,
Yeah,
but I don't want to like jump off into
right,
it
because
because
I have a mission. Like,
he was in his full Mars by doing that because he
Mhm.
was in his power
Mhm.
to be like, I'm not going to let this thing overtake me. I know what it is. I want to know about it.
which is a
The
really good,
adventure of Sagittarius.
right? But which is a really good parallel between like maybe spending time with your family and then realizing that's not your story,
Right.
and then the next day feeling like I know what my story. I know how to stay
Mhm.
true to myself.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see the parallels. Did I do a good job?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, I think that's like Mars and Ceres ultimately is like the power to take care of ourselves,
Yeah.
like we talked about with the conjunction the day before,
Mhm.
but to do it in like almost turn it into an adventure,
Yeah.
you know, where
It
it's
is
like I'm
adventure.
discovering the ways that work best for me
Right.
to take care of myself.
Yeah. It should be an
Where it's like,
adventure.
you know, this doesn't feel right. Let me go out there and try some new things and see
Right.
if those things are right for me.
Right. Instead of just sticking with like, well, it's supposed to be this way because it's been like this way in my family for billions of
Right.
years.
Exactly.
We are moving into new times, people.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And you know, on that same day, we've got the moon in Aries
Mhm.
squaring Pluto in Capricorn.
Mhm.
And again, squares are challenges. And to me, that challenge, moon in Aries, you know,
Mhm.
the warrior associated with Mars,
Yeah.
is to, you know, dig into the depths of what adventure means to us, to
Yeah.
really like discover things, to really like not play it safe.
Right.
Not
Whatever
just
that
go with
looks
the comfort zone.
right, right. And whatever that looks like to you.
Mhm.
Because it means something different to everybody.
Right.
And there was something else I was gonna say about we'll keep going.
Okay.
It'll come back or not. Okay. Where are we? Saturday?
Yes.
Okay, moon and Taurus.
Yes. Conjunct Jupiter,
Conjunct Jupiter.
which is
'cause-
beautiful because
right.
we're in Sagittarius
Season,
season, and
yep.
then Jupiter comes in, and yeah.
and
And
Jupiter rules Sagittarius.
yes, so Jupiter rules Sagittarius.
Yeah. And I was gonna
And
say Jupiter is in Taurus right
Right.
now. That's why they're together. That's why they're
Right.
conjunct.
so that conjunction to me, like, I mean, the easiest, most simplistic way of talking about the moon conjunct Jupiter is
Mhm.
feeling lucky.
Yeah.
You know, because Jupiter's luck and the moon is feeling.
Yeah.
So it's like feeling lucky. But I think we can turn that into something more than just like, oh, I'm going to be lucky.
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
lucky and win the lotto kind of thing. But
Yeah.
like, I'm going to perhaps. Thank
Yeah.
you. for
I
the
know. I
segue.
was like, I hope they don't like
I mean,
throw our
Full shout out to
yeah, I
Slick
hope they don't
Rick,
throw
but,
our
you know,
video off
feeling like I'm
YouTube.
in high school again. But
Yeah.
That's all right.
Because of what is it? What was it? Licensed music and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm sure, you know, they're gonna
Okay,
cut that out.
We'll
but,
see. Okay,
um,
so Saturday, Moon and Taurus, conjunct
yes.
Jupiter. Yeah.
Yes. So like when I say feeling lucky, like I mean more than just like feeling lucky and go and play in the lotto.
Right.
Like feeling lucky in life, to be like lucky to be alive and
Yeah.
like really feeling that.
Lucky to see all these new opportunities in your life that are going to be coming up. Lucky to see like you're what you wake up to what maybe blocks that you've had or been having, especially like when it comes around like your family and just like but just the energy around you, like you're
Right.
saying, like that luck, just be like I'm so happy I'm here because I can
And
see
it's
everything.
Sagittarius season.
Yeah.
So like adding more into that. So
Yeah.
a lot of this like heavy stuff that we dealt with during eclipse season and Scorpio season.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like I see a lot of that really just like almost like peeling off,
Right.
burning off, with,
Burning
like
off.
Sagittarius energy.
Yeah.
That's like just keeps like kind of just pulling it off and saying like, yes, it was tough.
Yeah.
Don't you feel lucky that you made it through?
Yeah.
Don't you feel lucky that like
You're still here to
here and
experience
learning
all
and
this.
having all these adventures and
Yeah.
like so I think you might have like this shift in perspective
Mhm.
around that time where like maybe the things that you were like this is like trials and tribulations
Right.
and this is whatever, now it's like, oh no, that was kind of just an adventure.
Right.
That was kind of just
I
a
love that
thing.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it definitely is a shift in perspective around that time. But got an interesting thing also going on that day.
Okay.
Mars squaring Saturn.
Yes.
So again, we were talking about earlier with the sun squaring Saturn, it was like, you know, the power to like kind of see and shift our foundations and our boundaries.
Yeah.
And I think it's very similar with Mars.
Mhm.
Like again, Mars is our power planet. He is how we assert ourselves. So
Right.
it's almost like asserting ourselves, reminding ourselves we have the control over
Right.
our lives.
Yeah.
So, you know, whatever these structures are, whatever, you know, boundaries we placed or not placed,
Mhm.
we have the power to change that.
Right. And
Like
it's
if we have a faulty foundation, we can tear it down and start again.
yeah, and it's almost like Mars and Sagittarius because he just got into Sagittarius, so he's feeling relieved.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a little jovial. And so he's squaring Saturn and Pisces.
Yeah.
And so maybe all the things that are like super stiff and stuff, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you
there's
start
gonna be a lot of loosening.
right. And so you can see like again, either you don't have to do it anymore, there could be a different way. But like that square energy is just, I don't know how to like opposite, you know, is like a good tension.
Right.
And square, I don't know what the best way to say a square is, like,
It's comfortable.
yeah.
It's okay to say uncomfortable because
Okay.
I think it's meant to be uncomfortable so we don't sit in it.
Okay.
Like we're meant to like kind of be discomforted a little bit so
it'll
that we
help us
go,
keep moving.
okay,
Yeah.
I gotta move out of this. Like this doesn't feel good. Like if it feels
Uncomfortable.
too comfortable, we're not gonna do anything.
Hell
about it.
no.
Right.
I'm gonna be drinking
So,
hot
and I
cocoa.
always think like it's a 90 degrees. So it's almost
Mhm.
like turning to the
Mm,
side
yeah.
to see something, which is not comfortable either.
Yeah.
So
You want to get the
again,
information.
you're in a position where you're not comfortable.
Yeah.
So you got to do something about it. And that's all that energy is. So
Yeah.
like whenever like you feel that discomfort with, you know, these squares and
Mhm.
things like that, it's not something to lament. You're
Right.
not doing anything wrong. It's meant for you to do something.
Right.
Like take action and you'll feel a lot better.
And so I think in like the action that maybe we take is like something that's more fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Basically,
Definitely.
that's what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say. Okay, Sunday. We made it.
Yes.
This is our adventure, our Odysseus adventure. We finally made
Yes.
it through this week. Okay. Moon and Taurus.
Yes.
It will-
Conjunct Uranus.
yes.
Opposite Mars in Ceres.
Yeah.
And square Saturn.
Okay.
So some more tension energy.
Right.
But again, the tension is what moves us forward.
Right.
Can't all be sextiles and trines.
No, and also it's important for you guys to start noticing what is it that's making me feel ugh.
Right. If
Okay.
it keeps coming up,
Right.
you gotta deal with it.
Right. So write it down.
Right.
Like I say, because that's once just being aware is 99%.
Mhm.
It really is.
Well, and okay, so Uranus has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Uranus is, quick, sudden things
Yeah.
moving.
Mhm.
And they're both in earth signs,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
the same earth sign,
Right.
Taurus. So like that's almost like the earth shaking in a good way.
Yeah.
Like where it's like things that need to shift, need
Mhm.
to move, need to go somewhere.
Yeah.
It's like it comes in and it's like we feel those changes that need to happen.
Yeah. And you guys can see them a lot easier.
Right.
Yeah.
And then again, an opposition with Mars and a square with Saturn, we're playing right into that Mars square Saturn that we had the day before,
Mhm.
which is challenging us
Mhm.
to,
Make a move
make a move,
because
change the things that need to change.
that moon in Taurus is sextiling Neptune and Pisces, which then again will, I think, allow us to bring in more of those hopes, dreams.
Mhm.
And then with it squaring Saturn, who's squaring Saturn? Mars, and
The moon is squaring Saturn.
so the moon is squaring Saturn.
Right. Squared Mars the day before. Or
Okay.
Mars, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, once the moon moves into Gemini.
Right.
Okay. But so in the morning when the moon's in Taurus, it's sextiling Neptune and Pisces.
Yes.
So I think that's going to just more levity that day.
Mhm.
Then later in the day when it moves into Gemini and we get those squares in there.
Yeah.
But when the moon moves into Gemini, that's talking.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what we come to at the beginning of the day, it doesn't matter when we have those oppositions and those squares, we're going to be able to talk about to make it more stable.
Right. And then again, when it moves into Gemini, we have the square with Saturn and the opposition with Mars that becomes a T square,
Okay.
which the T square, we already are challenged by a square,
Right.
but a T square is kind of like, like pushing it a
The-
little harder,
the
more,
T-square.
it's more like two challenges at the same time,
Yeah.
which is actually good because
Mhm.
that means we can just take care of them at the same time.
Yeah.
And so like if you feel like with the opposition with Mars, like you're seeing across it, like where you've been giving your
Yeah.
power away, where you
Yeah.
have disempowered yourself,
Yeah.
but then you also see the square to Saturn and you
Mhm.
see like all these faulty, foundations.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Those two things are tied.
Right.
You have disempowered yourself and so you've built a faulty foundation.
Right.
So it's like if those two things are tied, you can take care of them at the same time.
Right. One big swoop.
Right.
And then we wanted to say the full moon.
Yes. So right after, so this week we don't have a full moon,
No.
but 3 hours into the week after next, so on the 27th, we have the Gemini full moon.
Right.
And I think that's great.
I do too.
I've heard literally every end of the spectrum from astrologers. It's going to be the worst. It's going to be the best. Whatever. We hear this every
I
time.
know.
But to me, I think it's going to be a really good one
Yeah.
because Gemini is conversation.
Right.
And I keep hearing like people screaming during this. And I don't say that in a bad way. It's like screaming in the like letting it out way.
Mhm.
So I don't want to say like screaming like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm freaking out,
Yeah.
but like actually
Getting
just letting
rid.
it out where
Yeah.
it's like it's been in us so long we
Mhm.
can't shut up about it.
Which is good because we need to let it out because we're going into winter.
Yeah.
And so we got to be light for winter.
And so one thing I might suggest to people, like part of your Gemini full moon ritual can
Yeah.
involve screen therapy.
Okay. I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah. And like maybe, you know, if best way to do that, the
Mhm.
way I like to do it is like just go out into the forest, you know, and scream when nobody's around so nobody
Mhm.
comes running and thinking you're gonna die or something.
Right.
But like there's something about like just letting that like vocal aspect of things come out.
Mhm. Especially with Gemini, because Gemini is ruled by Mercury.
Right.
And Mercury is the way we communicate.
Right. Because I think there's a lot of things that like we've tried to like not say out loud.
Mhm.
That I think with the culmination of the full moon, it's just gonna come out. And
Yeah.
I think we should welcome
Okay.
it coming out.
I like that welcoming energy. Yeah. Okay, friends, that is it for this week. If you want to get in touch with Helen and have on here, like circling your face with a thing, I can't see that. If you want to get in touch with Helen, have her do a reading, either astrology or tarot cards. You can always find her on Instagram under the Crimson Cadavers and on YouTube at the same. And then the same with me. YouTube, Independent Street Tarot, same with Instagram, and then I also have websites at independentstreetnola.com. If you are celebrating the holidays, be safe traveling if you're traveling. And if you're not celebrating the holidays, have a great week.
Yeah.
Okay, till next time.
Bye.